The Two Towers, Chapter 4, Treebeard. Meanwhile the hobbits went with as much speed as the dark and tangled forest allowed, following the line of the running stream westward and up towards the slopes of the mountains, deeper and deeper into Fangorn. Slowly their fear of the orcs died away, and their pace slackened. A queer, stifling feeling came over them, as if the air were too thin or too scanty for breathing. At last Merry halted. "We can't go on like this," he panted. "I want some air." "Let's have a drink at any rate," said Pippin. "I'm parched." He clambered onto a great tree root that wound down into the stream, and stooping drew up some water in his cupped hands. It was clear and cold, and he took many draughts. Merry followed him. The water refreshed them and seemed to cheer their hearts. For a while they sat together on the brink of the stream, dabbling their sore feet and legs, and peering round at the trees that stood silently about them, rank upon rank, until they faded away into grey twilight in every direction. "I suppose you haven't lost us already," said Pippin, leaning back against a great tree trunk. "We can at least follow the course of this stream, the Entwash, or whatever you call it, and get out again the way we came." "We could, if our legs would do it," said Merry, "and if we could breathe properly." "Yes, it is all very dim and stuffy in here," said Pippin. "It reminds me somehow of the old room in the great place of the Tooks, away back in the Smeals at Tuckborough, a huge place where the furniture has never been moved or changed for generations. They say the old Took lived in it year after year, while he and the room got older and shabbier together, and it has never been changed since he died a century ago. And old Gerontius was my great-great-grandfather. That puts it back a bit. But that has nothing to the feeling of this wood. Look at all those weeping, trailing beards and whiskers of lichen. And most of the trees seem to be half covered with raggedy dry leaves that have never fallen. Untidy. I can't imagine what spring would look like here, if it ever comes. Still, less a spring cleaning." "But the sun at any rate must peep in sometimes," said Merry. "It does not look or feel at all like Bilbo's description of Mirkwood. That was all dark and black, and the home of dark black things. This is just dim, and frightfully tree-ish. You can't imagine animals living here at all, or staying for long." "No, nor hobbits," said Pippin. "And I don't like the thought of trying to get through it either. Nothing to eat for 100 miles, I should guess. How are our supplies?" "Low," said Merry. "We ran off with nothing but a couple of spare packets of lembas, and left everything else behind." They looked at what remained of the elven cakes, broken fragments, for about 5 meagre days. That was all. "And not a wrap or a blanket," said Merry. "We shall be cold tonight, whichever way we go." "Well, we'd better decide on the way now," said Pippin. "The morning must be getting on." Just then they became aware of a yellow light that had appeared some way further on into the wood. Shafts of sunlight seemed to suddenly have pierced the forest roof. "Hullo," said Merry. "The sun must have run into a cloud while we've been under these trees, and now she has run out again, or else she has climbed high enough to look down through some opening. It isn't far. Let's go and investigate." They found it was further than they thought. The ground was rising steeply still, and it was becoming increasingly stony. The light grew broader as they went on, and soon they saw that there was a rock wall before them, the side of a hill, or the abrupt end of some long route thrust out by a distant mountain. No trees grew on it, and the sun was falling full on its stony face. The twigs of the trees at its foot were stretched out stiff and still, as if reaching out to the warmth. Where all had looked so shabby and grey before, the wood now gleamed with rich browns, and with the smooth black greys of bark like polished leather. The boles of the trees grew with a soft green like young grass. Early spring, or a fleeting vision of it, was about them. In the face of the stony wall there was something like a stair, natural perhaps, and made by the weathering and splitting of the rock, for it was rough and uneven. High up, almost level with the top of the trees, there was a shelf under a cliff. Nothing grew there but a few grasses and weeds at its edge, and one old stump of a tree with only 2 bent branches left. It looked almost like the figure of some gnarled old man standing there, blinking in the morning light. "Up we go," said Mary joyfully, now for a breath of air and a sight of the land. They climbed and scrambled up the rock. If the stair had been made, it was for bigger feet and longer legs than theirs. They were too eager to be surprised at the remarkable way in which the cuts and sores of their captivity had healed and the vigour had returned. They came at length to the edge of the shelf, almost at the feet of the old stump, when they sprang up and turned round with their backs to the hill, breathing deep and looking out eastward. They saw that they had only come some 3 or 4 miles into the forest. The heads of the trees marched down the slopes towards the plain. There, near the fringe of the forest, tall spires of curling black smoke went up, wavering and floating towards them. "The wind's changing," said Mary. "It's turned east again. It feels cool up here." "Yes," said Pippin. "I'm afraid this is only a passing gleam, and it will all go grey again. What a pity. This shaggy old forest looks so different in the sunlight. I almost felt I liked the place." "Almost felt you liked the forest? That's good. That's uncommonly kind of you," said a strange voice. "Turn round and let me have a look at your faces. I almost feel that I dislike you both. But do not let us be hasty. Turn around." A large, knob-knuckled hand was laid on each of their shoulders, and they were twisted round, gently but irresistibly. Then 2 great arms lifted them up. They found that they were looking at a most extraordinary face. It belonged to a large, man-like, almost troll-like figure, at least 14 foot high, very sturdy, with a tall head and hardly any neck. Whether it was clad in stuff like green and grey bark, or whether that was its hide, was difficult to say. At any rate, the arms, at a short distance from the trunk, were not wrinkled, but covered with brown, smooth skin. The large feet had 7 toes each. The lower part of the long face was covered with a sweeping grey beard, bushy, almost twiggy at the roots, thin and mossy at the ends. But the movement the hobbits noted little but their eyes. These deep eyes were now surveying them, slow and solemn, but very penetrating. They were brown, shot with a green light. Often afterwards, Pippin tried to describe them in his first impression of them. One felt as if there were an enormous well behind them, filled up with ages of memory and long, slow, steady thinking, but their surface was sparkling like the present, like sun shimmering on outer leaves of a vast tree, or on the ripples of a very deep lake. I don't know, but it feels as if something has grown in the ground, asleep you might say, or just feeling itself as something between root tip and leaf tip, between deep earth and sky, has suddenly waked up and was considering you with the same slow care that it had given to its own inside affairs for endless years. Murmured the voice, a long, deep woodwind instrument. "Very odd indeed. Do not be hasty. That is my motto. But if I had seen you before I heard your voices, I liked them. Nice little voices. They reminded me of something I cannot remember. As if I had seen you before I heard you. I should have just trodden on you, taking you for little orcs, and found out my mistake afterwards. Very odd you are indeed. Root and twig, very odd." Pippin, though still amazed, no longer felt afraid. Under those eyes he felt a curious suspense, but not fear. "Please," he said, "who are you? And what are you?" A queer look came into the old eyes, a kind of weariness. The deep wells were covered over. "Hurrum now," answered the voice. "Well, I am an Ent, or that's what they call me. Yes, Ent is the word. The Ent I am, you might say, in your manner of speaking. Fangorn is my name, according to some. Treebeard, others make it. Treebeard will do." "An Ent," said Mary. "What's that? But what do you call yourself? What's your real name?" "Whew, now," replied Treebeard. "Whew. Now that would be telling. Not so hasty, and I am doing the asking. You are in my country. What are you, I wonder? I cannot place you. You do not seem to come in the old lists that I learned when I was young. But that was a long, long time ago, and they may have made new lists. Let me see. How did it go? Learn now the law of the living creatures. First name the four, the free peoples, eldest of all, elf children, dwarf the delver, dark are his houses, Ent the earthborn, old as mountains, man the mortal, master of horses. Beaver the builder, buck the leaper, bear bee hunter, boar the fighter, hound is hungry, hare is fearful. Eagle in eyrie, ox in pasture, hart-horn crowned, hawk is swiftest, swan the whitest, serpent coldest. How did it go? Room-tum, room-ti-toom-tum. It was a long list, but anyway, you do not seem fit in it anywhere. We always seem to have got left out of the old lists and the old stories, said Mary. Yet we've been about for quite a long time. We're hobbits. Why not make a new line, said Pippin. Half-grown hobbits, the hole-dwellers. Put us in amongst the four, next to man, the big people, and you've got it. Not bad, said Treebeard. That would do. So you live in holes, eh? It sounds very right and proper. Who calls you hobbits, though? That does not sound elvish to me. Elves made all the old words. They began it. Nobody else calls us hobbits. We call ourselves that, said Pippin. Come now, not so hasty. You call yourselves hobbits, but that should not go telling just anybody. You'll be letting out your own right names if you're not careful. We aren't careful about that, said Mary. As a matter of fact, I'm a brandybuck. Meriadoc brandybuck, though most people call me Mary. And I'm a took, peregrine took, but I'm generally called Pippin, or even Pip. But you are hasty folk, I see, said Treebeard. I am honoured by your confidence, but you should not be too free all at once. There are Ents and Ents, you know. There are Ents and things that look like Ents, but ain't, as you might say. I'll call you Merry and Pippin if you please. Nice names. For I am not going to tell you my name, not yet at any rate." A queer, half-knowing, half-humorous look came in with a green flicker into his eyes. "For one thing, it would take a long while. My name is growing all the time, and I've lived a very long, long time. So my name is like a story. Real names tell you the story of things they belong to in my language, in the old Entish, as you might say. It is a lovely language, but it takes a very long time to say anything in it, because we do not say anything unless it is worth taking a long time to say and to listen to. But now," and the eyes became very bright and present, seeming to grow smaller and almost sharp, "what is going on? What are you doing in it all? I can see and hear and smell and feel a great deal from this. All this, from this, la la, la la, rumba, kamada, lind o barumi. Excuse me, that is part of my name for it. I do not know what the word is in the outside languages, you know. The thing we are on, where I stand and look out from on fine mornings and think about the sun and the grass beyond the wood and the horses and the clouds and the unfolding of the world. What is going on? What is Gandalf up to? And these Marum," he made a deep rumbling noise, like a discord on a great organ, "these orcs and young Saruman down in Isengard. I like news, but not too quick now." "There is quite a lot going on," said Mary, "and even if we tried to be quick, it would take a long time to tell you. But you told us not to be hasty. Ought we tell you anything too soon? Would you think it rude if we asked what you were going to do with us, and what side you were on? And did you know Gandalf?" "Yes, I do know him. The only wizard that really cares about trees," said Treebeard. "Do you know him?" "Yes," said Pippin sadly, "we did. He was a great friend, and he was our guide." "Then I can answer your other questions," said Treebeard. "I am not going to do anything with you, nor, if you mean by that, do something to you without your leave. We might do things together. I don't know about sides. I go my own way, but your way may go along with mine for a while. But if you speak of Master Gandalf as if he was in a story that would come to an end." "Yes, we do," said Pippin sadly. "The story seems to be going on, but I'm afraid Gandalf has fallen out of it." "Who? Come now," said Treebeard. "Whom? Oh, well." He paused, looking long at the hobbits. "Whom? Ah, well, I do not know what to say. Come now." "If you would like to hear more," said Mary, "we will tell you, but it will take some time. Wouldn't you like to put us down? Couldn't we sit here together in the sun while it lasts? You might be getting tired of holding us up." Tired? No, I am not tired. I do not easily get tired, and I do not sit down. I am not very, bendable. But there, the sun is going in. Let us leave this. What did you say you call it?" "Hill," suggested Mary. "Shelf, step," suggested Mary. Treebeard repeated the words thoughtfully. "Hill. Yes, that was it. But it is a hasty word for a thing that has stood here ever since this part of the world was shaped. Never mind. Let us leave it and go." "Where shall we go?" asked Mary.
to my home, or one of my homes, answered Treebeard.
Is it far?
I do not know. You might call it far, perhaps, but what does that matter?
Well, you see, we have lost all our belongings, said Mary. We have only a little food.
Oh, you need not trouble about that, said Treebeard. I can give you a drink that will keep you green and growing for a long while. And if we decide to part company, I can set you down outside my country at any point you choose. Let us go.